On this special edition of Biz One-on-One, we're joined by Trent Fequet, CEO of the Steel River Group of companies. Trent has spent virtually his entire career in construction, ranging from small to massive billion-dollar projects all over Canada. About 2 years ago, he decided to take what he's learned and start his own company. The risk paid off. Steel River Group has already done $200 million in revenue in only 2 years. He's here to tell us his remarkable story, some insights he's picked up along the way, and how Indigenous communities are taking control of their economic destinies. Trent, welcome to Biz One-on-One.
Thanks for having me, Randy.
So this is quite a story. Tell me about what you were doing before you decided to start your own business, a bit of your history.
Well, as you mentioned, I've spent my whole career in construction. I've had a wonderful career, working for some amazing companies. Started my career off early, believe it or not, in the resort industries, building high-end condos and high-end hotels in and around the Fernie and Kimberley region.
That's in British Columbia.
In British Columbia, yeah. Correct, yeah. And from that,
And how old were you when you did you go to university?
Yeah, fresh out of university, so my early 20s, 22, 23. From that, got an opportunity to move up north, way up north in the Northwest Territories. Was a great experience. At the time, it changed my career totally. It brought me out of, I say, more residential, that side of the business, into the mining industry. And keep in mind, at that time in the Canadian history is when the diamond mine boom was happening in Northern Canada.
Okay.
So it was a very unique experience. Picked up my wife and kids at the time, and we moved up north.
To where up north?
Yellowknife, sorry.
Yellowknife, okay. And that's really up north. Like for our viewers around North America and even in the UK, we're talking about, it's like the end of the earth almost.
It is. I remember the first winter we got there, it was Halloween night. It was 40 below. Literally the week before Halloween night, it was 40 below. It didn't warm up till March.
Ouch.
It was cold. But probably the best place I've ever worked. The community was phenomenal. Everyone who went there for the same reasons, to be involved in the industry. And like I said, at that time, it was mostly revolving around the diamond industry.
It's kind of like the gold rush, right?
More or less. Maybe you can't relate to that, but more or less, yeah. I guess. Spent 4 or 5 years in Northwest Territories, and then brought my career a bit south, which brought me into Fort McMurray, which again was another boom, which was the oil sand boom in the mid-2000s.
So you started your own company, you got up to $200 million in the first 2 years. We're going to get to that. But for someone watching, what was your degree in and how did you get started?
Well, I don't think my degree my schooling actually had much to do with my success on the business side, to be honest with you. It was more of just the work experience. You're going to hear a lot from me over this interview that'll link back to relationships and people. Wherever I went throughout my career, for all the great companies I've worked with, I met some amazing people. And I was fortunate enough, as I moved into different sectors, moved into different places of Canada, moved with other companies, a lot of those key people followed me throughout my career. And literally why I'm sitting here today is because the group of people that I have currently now as partners, executives, and people that are just peppered throughout my organization.
It's all from you naturally? Do you think this was like a natural thing that you knew how to build relationships, and where did that come from?
Well, I think everything in life is building relationships, right? We wouldn't be doing what we're doing here today unless there was people behind the scenes making us look good.
Yeah. Relatively speaking.
But everything in life is about people. Every company is just filled with people. The logos really doesn't mean anything. Those people then in turn have the opportunity to form strong relationships. The people that form relationships and make that a priority in life end up with success. And I think, I'm probably pretty good at building relationships. There's two ways you can have people, they'll follow you in your career, inspire them or manipulate them. I'm hoping that it's the latter, the former.
So mentors in your life then, where did you pick up, you're now running a big company, you have 50 actual employees, but you said you have hundreds at any given time as contractors?
Yeah, the construction world typically works, it's a lot of it's some sugar eyes. What I mean by that, you'll have a project that starts, it could last 3 months, you can have a major project start last 6 months. So a lot of your, foremen and your the craft workers will will start with you. They'll be with you for the major project, and they'll move on, and they'll come back with you the next season. So through our main group, Steel River Group, we have 50 full-time employees, and then we have a couple other sub-companies that we own fraction ownership in. There's probably another 50 to 70 employees in there. On our peak season, which is currently right now in February, we have close to 1,000 people on payroll.
2 years, 1,000 people out there working for you. That's like mind-boggling. That sounds like some kind of internet startup or something.
Yeah.
And you're basically in the construction business, engineering, and you've tell me about that philosophy of how you've set up companies and partnered with other people, and how did you decide to go that route?
Well, it's probably a two-part story. The first, to answer that question, firstly, is a collaborative approach. Throughout my career, I've seen, especially on major projects and/or complex projects, you see a few different companies come together, the burden, the risk on those jobs. And the real successful projects are the projects that come in and they partner with the local communities. And a lot of cases, in my personal history, is partnering with the Indigenous communities around that area. So my philosophy, my business model centered around that. The primary business, Steel River Group, what we do is we proactively work with nations to fill a need. Every nation needs something different. Currently, in the environment we're in Western Canada, the nations need support to bring forth opportunities for employment.
When you say nations, you're talking about like First Nations, what used to be called Indian reserves. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, nations are, exactly. It's either reserve, band communities. For me personally, I prefer to use a nation. The nations are situated maybe around a reserve in say, Treaty 6, for example, is in and around the central part of Alberta, which is close to Edmonton and Grand Prairie. Treaty 8, is next to Grand Prairie. So there's nations that are populated inside of those treaty areas.
Okay. So you worked in big companies, and you worked your way up into management, and you were successful and built a lot of big projects. There's a lot of people that work in the corporate world who always dream of starting their own business. And it's the rare person that actually does it, and then it's the even more rare person that has the kind of success that you're having right out of the gate. Talk to me about that.
Every story is different. Every entrepreneur's story is different. For me, we have a model, and I believe in the model, but I keep going back to the people, right? There's no way I would be able to build what I built over the last 2 years without people deciding to join and believing in my vision. And then, we have a very complex business model when you look at it from the outside, as such that we have a ton of partnerships. So every single business that I'm associated with, I'll have other partners that have a minority stake. So as Steel River Group, we'll always have 51% at a minimum to ensure that we're keeping the flavor of all businesses being owned and operated by an Indigenous members. But the key is bringing the people and bringing them a stake in the game. To grow a business this quick, you have to literally have each business as a standalone silo and trust that the people inside that business are operating the business correctly.
So you partner with other people that have already been entrepreneurs, or most of them haven't been?
That's a great question. It's a mix of both. But to be honest, the majority of my current partners are people who never stepped out to be entrepreneurs.
And yet they're becoming your 49%, or maybe 2 or 3 of them get together to take the 49% stake. Are you just giving them the equity, or do they buy in, or how does that work?
Well, every situation is different. We have 7 or 8 companies at this point. I give you a success story. They're all success stories, I guess. But our first branch off subsidiary company is called Steel River Solutions. And what that company is, a general contracting company, but truly it's a pipeline company. We had 2 individuals that are my partners. They are absolutely operational excellence, construction managers, superintendent type individuals, but they don't necessarily have the experience or aptitude on the business side.
They've never run their own business.
Never run their own business. So as a partnership, Steel River Group would come in and provide corporate governance, the back office support on the finances, business development, so on and so forth. They focus on to executing projects. Come that together as a perfect marriage. And that's literally the model when we go out and we look at new businesses open up. An operational entity, folks that are going to do the work day to day, come into us and we take on the corporate governance and the corporate support.
And Where did you get the idea to set things up that way? Are you following someone else's model?
You know,
I mean, no one's ever come up with anything original.
Well, exactly. You know, I think there's a few different sides. On that side of our business, which is supporting our subsidiary companies, there's lots of companies that go out there and do that. Like, you know, I work for one of the most amazing entrepreneurs and leaders of all time, in my opinion, a guy by the name of Bill Eglinton, who's the owner and developer of the JV Driver Group. When I joined JV Driver back in mid-2000s, we were doing $50 million worth of revenue. And I went and did the first major project, which was like a $250 million lump sum. And then I moved into a $2 billion project for JV Driver. Over that 5-year period, he took the business up to $4 billion.
Annual revenues, $4 billion.
Yes, in that 4 to 5 year period.
4,000 million, by the way. We throw out that $1 billion number. It's like, because, you know, in government now it's all in billions, but $4,000 million of revenue each year.
So throughout my life, to that point on, I link back and I've learned so much and taken so much from that overall experience, from Bill as an individual, from the company, from how he treated his people, from the other people associated with the business. Amazing story, amazing man. So can't say that I haven't mirrored some of that concepts around. You know, Bill took an approach of companies already in existence, supporting them from the lower side and then taking on more percentage as he went in. You know, another way to look at it, if you went out and had a .com business and you sold it and you made $300 million, you're 50 years old, you're coming back, like, what am I going to do? You're at that point in your life and your career where you decide you want to give back. How do you give back? You go out and look, you become a venture capitalist. You go out and look for young entrepreneurs, young people that you want to invest in. You know, you can put some money their way. You can help them on the board. You can support them behind the scenes. Maybe I'm doing that in reverse.
Reverse venture capital.
That's a way to
Very
look at
cool.
it. Yeah.
We're going to be right back with more with Trent Fequet, and we're going to dig into his background as an Indigenous person himself. Stay with us.